also want to say a word of welcome to other guests who are coming in from out of town. I'm really glad that we have Douglas and Gail speaking. I've been getting some compliments about the worship service. Those are entirely misdirected. They should all go to Douglas and Gail. Beautiful nights of worship that I've ever experienced. Thank you so much for putting that together. Marissa Hall is here. Yes, Marissa's here. It was supposed to be a bit of a surprise. Did that work? Yeah. Okay, cool. And Christopher Whitmer is also here from out of town. He's been put to work doing tech stuff. So that feels appropriate. So thank you to everybody who came from far and wide. And as you see tonight, we also have a lot of contributions that people submitted digitally who couldn't be here in person. A big word of thank you to the planning committee, to Douglas and Gail, to Walter and Marion Moore, to Debbie Gibson, Emily Bruno, Miriam Gurniak, Eleanor Cleveland, Barbara Boucharis, and of course Christy Williams, who has been just working like crazy to make sure every detail has come out. I'm told I get to say a few words about what it's been like to work with Michael, and I realize, Michael, that I have been here for only a fraction of your long career with this congregation, but I came in at quite a moment in the life of the church. When I first got here, Michael and I were pre-recording worship. So he would record all of the hymns with the cantors, some of whom are here tonight, and then I would record the prayers and the sermon, and Tiana would piece together the worship service. I can't tell you how exciting it was to move to leading worship in real time with Michael. One of the beautiful things about worship at First Presbyterian is it's this conversation that happens between organ and pulpit, that word and music come together in the worship service. And Michael, you invited me into that conversation beautifully. The conversation happened in worship on Sunday morning was preceded by conversations in planning meetings with the staff. And I cannot tell you how much I learned from Michael about how much theology there is in music, how much scripture there is in music, and how important congregational song is for the collective prayer life of the worshiping body. Michael, I am so grateful for our time together. You have been an outstanding colleague to me. Thank you very much. And now that we've also falls to me to pray. So let us join our hearts together in prayer. Gracious and loving God, thank you for the gift of music. Thank you for the gift of food. Thank you for the gift of friendship. Thank you for the gift of love. And thank you for the gift of Michael. Bless us as we celebrate this night. Amen. Amen.
Good evening, everyone. In case you don't know who I am, I'm Charlie. I'm Michael's daughter-in-law. And whenever I send text messages and Michael's name comes up, I use his initials, MC. And, see where I'm going? So I am very happy to be the MC for you, MC. First up in the program is a collection of 3 videos, the first of which was submitted by John Ferguson. Dr. Ferguson was a classmate of Michael's at the Eastman School of Music. Like Michael, he wears many hats. He's an organist, choral conductor, teacher, and talented improviser. He has also composed more than 100 titles and is often invited to coordinate large hymn festivals. He retired in 2012 from St. Olaf College. The second video we'll see is from Eric Wall. Dr. Wall is a professor of sacred music at Austin Seminary in Texas. Before that, he served as director of music at the First Presbyterian Church in Asheville, North Carolina, and since 2011 has been the Montreat Conference Center musician. The third video is from Dr. Jonathan Hain. Dr. Hain is a choral director and organist at the University of Notre Dame.
This is John Ferguson, retired professor of organ and church music at St. Olaf College, speaking to you from the St. Olaf College audio facilities. And I have an assignment today. I've been asked to discuss and talk a little bit about a guy named Michael Corzine, a true gentleman, someone who knows the meaning of the word gentle as it's connected to the word man. Michael and I met at Eastman, and we discovered that we were two church musicians. Both of us understood the role of the organ as a leader of song in the congregation, and both of us liked that role, and both of us liked what we could do to enable the organ to function in that role. And you, like me, really do treasure the opportunity to lead singing from the organ bench. And this interest and this understanding and this focus also served to influence how we went about playing the repertoire as well. You, like me, play more than the notes of a hymn tune. You play the words, and that's terribly, terribly important. Over the years, our paths have crossed from time to time, and I treasure these times. I treasure just the opportunity to hear that chuckle of yours as you sort of look with a slight askance view, with a head slightly at a side nature. And the other thing about you, Michael, that I really respect and enjoy is that you are gifted with an intuitive grasp of how to make music at the organ. Pacing, time to breathe. After all, the organ is a wind instrument. You know how to work hard and don't mind doing that. You know how you're going for the result. And you also know how to practice efficiently. I still remember a time when I popped into the church where you were practicing, and you were working on the Dupre variations on a Newell, and you were working on the final section, the last page, tap, 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 the easiest page in the whole thing. And I said, Michael, you've got it all done. You're almost finished. And he looked at me, you looked at me, and laughed and said, no, I'm just playing the end to give me some more incentive to go ahead and get the whole thing learned. Yes, you also knew how to pace yourself, and I admire that very, very much. And also, I think you are someone who really didn't mind working hard because the goals you set for yourself were, after all, realistic, if you knew how to practice efficiently, and you did. You're also, Michael, a gentle spirit, and that gentle spirit has informed your teaching. Yes, demanding, but not mean-spirited. Yes, exhorting people to do their finest, but never expecting more than they can really produce. You know how to work hard, and you don't mind doing that. And so then you become a great model for your students. Gentle in spirit, yes, that's informed your teaching, but it was a demanding gentleness, and mean-spirited, no. The same spirit informs your living. You have showed your spirit and shared your spirit, which has informed your teaching and also your life in general. Also, you know who you are. You share your skill and talents as a teacher and are delighted to do so and really take delight as your students succeed. Also, you know who you are. And because you know who you are, you have no embarrassment sharing your skills and beliefs and talents as a teacher. And now you are turning a page to a new state of being. It's called retirement. I've been doing this for a while, and it's okay. In fact, I recommend it. Perhaps it can even be fun at times. So go for it. Godspeed, my friend. Godspeed.
Hello, everybody. My name is Eric Wall. I'm talking to you from Austin, Texas, though I deeply, deeply wish I could be there in Tallahassee for this great occasion, honoring Michael Corzine. I'm a student of Michael's. I was at Florida State from 1987 to 1993. At that time, I mainly knew Michael from the university side of things because I played the organ on Sundays across town at Faith Presbyterian Church, and so didn't get to First Pres all that much. My main memory of Michael and First Pres in those days was as a student doing organ practice there. In those days, what we called the old building in the then School of Music, the old building was under renovation to become what eventually we know as the Kirsteiner building. So some of the organ practice instruments were moved to First Pres, I think one in the choir room and one in the robing room. Michael, I think the Martini was in the choir room and the tracker in the robing room, but you can check me on that. So I knew Michael had this other life outside the university of the church, but it was ironically only after leaving Tallahassee that I came to know Michael much more as a church musician and to know other folks at First Pres, thanks in part to events and conferences at Montreat Conference Center, but also thanks to the inevitable deepening that comes with revisiting people and revisiting places. Over the years, but not nearly enough, I've been able to get down to Tallahassee for an organ lesson here or there, most recently in 2019, I think. And those lessons have been wonderful, cheerful, constant reminders of FSU days, to sit there with Michael listening and take a pause, and Michael would take a pencil and kind of think about what he wanted to say and adjust the lead, maybe put the pencil down and take a cup of coffee and a little swig, put the coffee down, go back to the pencil, and then begin to very carefully and deliberately scan the music back and forth, usually saying something like, "There was one spot somewhere," always twirling the pencil, and then finally, yes, 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 that's it. And he always found the spot, and he was always right, of course. And in the days since Florida State, when I come back for lessons with Michael, they've been deeper lessons because I'm a little older and a little smarter and able to listen a little better. And in fact, my head keeps listening to Michael wherever I am practicing music. And when I'm working on things, I will hear his voice. If I catch myself adding notes that aren't there on the page, I can remember him saying in the FSU days, "You're composing again." And every time in repeated practice, of course, most of all in Bach, anytime repeated practice helps me discover a kind of clarity or detail or a flow that is precise and articulate and songful. I can thank the voice of Michael in my head for those many years of his ear and his pencil that helped keep all of us students alert. Also, over the years, Mary and I have found ourselves in Tallahassee, maybe on a vacation while traveling, there on a Sunday morning and sitting in with the choir at First Pres during worship. And that's where it's been a joy to see on those all too few occasions what all of you have known for decades now. Michael's loving preparation, his strong leadership of congregational song, his whole anchoring of worship in congregational song, the astonishing variety of sound and texture he gets from the organ, his complete partnership with the congregation and the space, and his calm and centered presence, which has both complete authority and an absolute absence of anything being about him. I can imagine some of the gratitude and memory that you all must feel after all these decades, because I share it in my studentship and friendship with Michael. And Michael, I hope that on this occasion and with everything in this passage, that it's all deep and wide, just as your influence and teaching and presence has been with us for so many years. And I join all the folks there and everywhere who give thanks for all that you've done and directed and composed and played and showed us. Blessings in the days ahead.
Hi, Michael. Happy retirement to you. Jonathan Hain here. Hope you're doing well. I'm really sorry that I can't be there with you in person. The school year hasn't quite ended for me yet, so I am here up in South Bend, wishing that I could be with you guys down in Tallahassee. But I was grateful for the invitation to make a little short video just to say congratulations to you, and also to talk a little bit about how you've influenced me as a church musician. There are so many ways, and I've been thinking about that over these past couple days before making this video. I, I think I was your student for 10 years, something like that, all told, a good long time, and your last doctoral student. And you have just influenced me in a number of ways. I got to witness like your first 3 retirements, and now maybe, or however many it was, and now you've got this this final retirement from First Presbyterian. Kudos for so many years of good service. I remember when I just was starting college at FSU, I would worship at First Pres a lot on Sundays, and I would frequently show up early so that I could just kind of shadow what you were doing, just kind of observe. And I would get there, especially kind of like sometimes when you were warming up at the organ, just kind of playing through the hymns and all that. And I remember still just like listening and kind of being so aware of the care you were taking to do things like pay attention to the punctuation of the text, to really judicious registrations, working through alternate harmonizations, and in choir rehearsals later when I was in choir with you as an intern, kind of looking and observing the way you practiced through congregational songs and worked with the choir carefully to help lead the assembly. It was just so effective, and I think about that a lot. And more than any of those things, I think about the way that you use restraint in what you do. I was always amazed at how you could be playing and it would be at once really inspiring and kind of help lead the congregation in what they were doing, but it also was restrained in that it never really called attention to you more than it should, but it was just there at the service of the assembly, and that is the way I try to operate always, even now. I think about that almost every time I play here 20 years later. But beyond just like the mechanics of playing, you really also modeled for me the way that one has to live as a church musician. The kind of personal challenges of having night, rehearsals at night and having to be on the bench every Sunday morning, and all the preparation that goes into that, and just what that means for having to balance, family life with the life of a church musician and a teacher. And so that was really good to see that could be done successfully, especially with you and Betsy both being church musicians. I just really was always kind of paying attention to that and what that would mean for me as I went into that as a vocation. I also think about that plaque, which I'm sure you remember that you got, I think, at your first retirement, which, among other things, named you as an interpreter of the gospel. When I'm teaching my current students or working with my choir, that's a value that I try to instill in them, is the real importance of being an interpreter of the gospel for the congregation. The kind of like the Paul Moncism of there are 2 preachers on Sunday. There's the one in the pulpit, and then there's the one at the organ bench. I don't think you were really the first person to teach me about that way of being a church musician, and I credit the folks at First Presbyterian in Thomasville for that. I had a really remarkable musical upbringing there. But I think you were the most influential on me in that regard, just because you and your teaching were one of the big reasons why I decided to go into church music, and why I'm able to kind of function well doing that today. You've had a huge impact on my musical life, and I consider you a great friend and mentor. I am so sorry not to be there. I really wanted to be there, but I'm really looking forward to seeing you and the rest of the folks in Tallahassee next time I'm home. So yeah, hope you have a great day. Enjoy the festivities, and I will see you soon. Bye.
Next up, we'll be treated to a musical performance from the talented Carla Connors and Tim Hookman. You know them well, and you already have a deep appreciation for their talent. Dr. Connors, who is a professional opera singer, received her graduate degrees from the University of Michigan. She said in a Tallahassee Democrat article in 2019 that classical solo songs are mostly poetry set to music, and she sings those poems so beautifully. Dr. Hookman is a piano performer and teaches both piano and voice at FSU. He is an award-winning composer and has been in leadership roles with several opera companies throughout his career. Take it away.
Good evening. I'm so glad that you are all here to help us honor Michael, there he is, for his 49 years of service at First Presbyterian Church. But I've got to say, Michael, you could have just decided to play for 50. And, you know, one more year would have been really lovely. That's what we were hoping for. Tim and I were asked to provide 15 minutes of entertainment for this festive occasion. So we'll jump right in. I promised I would bring musical tributes that were both silly and sweet. We're going to begin with some sweet, and we'll get to the silly in a minute. And in each song you're going to hear, I have changed a few words, or maybe a lot of words, to personalize things for Michael. Apologies to all of the poets and composers. So you can listen for those unique lyrics. As you know, Michael has never been shy about challenging our congregation by using less familiar hymns on Sunday morning, interspersed with more well-known hymns, right? But this is always for liturgical reasons, of course, because of the poetry of the hymns he chooses always reflect the texts of the morning readings. Also, we know how much Michael loves music from the Baroque period, think Bach and Buxtehude, etc. So, to begin my musical tribute to Michael, I searched for a Baroque aria that would fit the praising God with music theme. Well, lo and behold, I found a Handel aria that is new to me, and I really thought I knew most every Handel aria that it fits my type of music, my type of voice. But no, as it turns out, Michael is still giving me an opportunity to learn new things. So this aria from Handel's Jephthah, his last oratorio. Of course, Handel, you think Messiah, right? He wrote lots of other oratorios. But you will hear about lutes and flutes and heavenly choirs. I have thrown out the harps and inserted organs, just for Michael. So the harps are gone and the organ is in. And it just so happens that all of these instruments in this aria are singing the great Jehovah's praises. Perfect.
Tune the soft melodious lute, pleasant organ warbling flute, to sounds of rapturous joy. To sounds of rapturous joy. Tune the soft melodious lute, pleasant organ warbling flute. Tune the soft melodious such as on our solemn days, singing great Jehovah's praise, the holy choir employ. Jehovah's praise, the holy choir employ. The holy choir employ. Tunes of melodious lute, pleasant organ, warbling flute, to sound of rapturous joy, to sounds of rapturous joy. Tune the soft melodious lute, pleasant organ, warbling flute, tune the soft melodious lute, and warbling flute, to sounds of rapturous joy, to sounds of rapturous to sounds of rapturous joy.
Michael, thank you for making me learn that aria. I really like that aria. And I don't know why I didn't know it until now. And did you hear the warbling flute? That's me when Michael asks me to play my other instrument on Sunday mornings. He's the only one I play flute for. Next, we will perform one of Dvorak's biblical songs entitled I Will Sing New Songs of Gladness. Here I've inserted something about the first pres organ early in the song. So listen, mostly it's Dvorak's normal song. But imagine that the piano fanfares in this song are Michael at the organ, and that he is the one singing Jehovah's praises with his faithful playing.
I will sing new songs of gladness. I will sing Jehovah's praises upon a 37 rank tracker organ.
I will now sing you a sacred song by Arthur Sullivan, the same composer who is half of the Gilbert and Sullivan team, whose operettas I have performed in professionally a lot. This song, The Lost Chord, is one of Sullivan's stranger compositions and is not a favorite of Michael. This makes it an ideal candidate for me to slaughter with by changing many of the original words. If this is one of your favorites, I do apologize. But how could I not bring a song that begins with the words, seated one day at the organ? And for our purposes tonight, we will say that the lost chord represents for Michael a job well done and a well-deserved rest upon retirement. And we hope he finds his lost chord soon.
One day at the organ, I was doing just as I pleased, and my fingers wandered idly over the noisy keys. I know not what I was playing, perhaps Betsy heard me then, but I struck one chord of music like the sound of a great amen. Like the sound of a great amen. It flooded the first Friends Church like the close of our choir's song, and it lay on my busy schedule like the touch of retirement's calm. It quieted phone and email like love overcoming strife. It seemed the harmonious echo of our Tallahassee life. It lessened my choir rehearsals in giving me perfect peace, and it trembled away into silence like the end of a book stowed apiece. I have sought, but I seek in vainly, that one lost chord divine from the Taylor and Moody organ. It entered this soul of mine. It may be that after Pentecost I will hear that chord again. It may be that after today I shall hear that grand amen. It may be that in retirement I shall hear that chord again. It may be that very soon I shall hear that grand amen.
Apologies to Arthur Sullivan and the woman poet who wrote the original words. Lastly, I have taken a handful of oldies and changed the words to make them fit Michael, remembering his service to our church, his upcoming retirement, I'm going to start crying. And mostly of all, we want to remember, we want him to know how dearly we love him. So enjoy this trip down memory lane.
Of thee I sing, Michael, summer, autumn, winter, spring. Michael, you're our organ master, you're our favorite pro, never a disaster, loved where'er you go. Of thee I sing, Michael, you have got that certain thing, Michael, shining star and inspiration, worthy of a great ovation. Of thee I sing. We're just wild about Michael, and Michael's wild about us. His organ playing, tonal praying, offered without a fuss. His 49 years of service on Sunday mornings was applause. Oh, we're just wild about Michael, though he will soon be gone, lounging on his lawn. Still he's wild about us. Oh, give him time, lots of time, under starry skies above. Let him retire. Let him ride through a nice Tallahassee that he loves. Let him retire. Let him be by himself in the evening breeze. Listen to the murmur of the live oak trees, drinking gin and tonics. So I ask you, please, let him retire. Just let him go. Let him skip those rehearsals on each Wednesday nights. That's right. But then, by Joe, how he'll miss the basses, tenors, altos, sops in red and white. He wants to lose track of Sundays. No, I'm not teasing. Won't even notice which liturgical season. Never ever play more Bach for any reason. Let him retire. Ain't he sweet? See him there on Adams Street. Now I ask you very confidentially, ain't he sweet? Ain't he nice? Played the organ once or twice. Now I ask you very confidentially, ain't he nice? Just cast an ear in his direction. Oh me, oh my, make good perfection. I repeat, what he plays is kinda neat, and I ask you very confidentially, ain't he sweet? Forget your troubles and just get happy. You better chase all your cares away. Shout hallelujah, come on, get happy. It's celebrating Michael Day. The sun is shining, come on, get happy. And Betsy's waiting to take his hand. Shout hallelujah, come on, get happy. He's heading towards retirement land. He's starting a new chapter, which can take him far and wide. It's oh so peaceful on the other side. Forget your troubles and just get happy. You better chase all your cares away. Shout hallelujah, come on, get happy. It's celebrating Michael Day.
deserve a standing ovation. Thank you once again. At First Presbyterian, you normally see the adult choir on Sunday mornings, but from time to time you've noticed young people singing with the adults, and those are the choristers. On Wednesday afternoons after school, Michael and Betsy hold a combined rehearsal with the choristers from First Presbyterian and St. John's. Several former choristers, who are all grown up now, have sent in retirement wishes for you, Michael. You may even catch a glimpse of one former chorister's favorite teddy bear, who is of course called Michael. We'll also hear from two former choral scholars, and the choral scholars are FSU students who are hired to sing with the choir to enrich our worship service and to continue their own music education.
Hey Michael, congratulations on your retirement. I'm so excited for you to move into this next phase of your life. Thanks so much for always being such a wonderful choir director and always letting me come back anytime I was in town, or just letting me sing when I was there. Singing is such an important part of worship for me, and you always welcomed me with open arms whenever I was in town. So I really appreciated that. I know that we're all very excited for you and for your retirement, but we'll also miss you as well with all of the wonderful, lovely music that you brought to us. So thank you so much and congratulations. I'm really excited for you.
Hi, Michael. Congratulations on your impending retirement. You have been a part of First Pres for my entire life, so I think your rest is definitely well-earned and well-deserved. Thank you for leaving me with such a deep appreciation of the majestic music of the church and providing an open and welcoming space for us to express our joy through music. Here in Geneva, people are often confused to discover that I'm American. My English has a rather unusual diction that I believe comes from more than a decade of you and Miss Betsy hammering out proper pronunciation from the choristers. I think of you every time I hear the bells, and I am sending you all my love from the city of Calvin.
Hi, Dr. Corzine. Lindsay Welch here. Congratulations on your retirement. So many good memories of being a chorister under your leadership. Just every Sunday you would show up to practice, whether there are 2 or 10 of us, with the same amount of energy. And just every Sunday, how everyone would stay after to listen to you finish your last piece on the organ. So congratulations on your retirement. So many good memories. So little time.
Hello, Michael. I hope this video finds you well. I'm coming to you this evening from our drawing room here in Hamilton, Ontario. I'm very sorry that I can't be there this evening to celebrate with you and yours and ours, but I did want to take a moment to recognize you and thank you for the indispensable love and support that you've shown both my family and me over the years. Much to the chagrin of those putting this event together, they are receiving this video at the very last possible minute. And in part, that's because I had to spend most of the day formatting and ultimately submitting my doctoral dissertation, which got in just under the wire a few minutes ago. This is a dissertation that is in the subject of music. And so it is in part quite fitting that the submission of that document and the recording of this message are happening in tandem, because I have you in large measure to thank. Your beautiful musicianship, your kindness, your quiet leadership, your inspiration, and the example you set. I have all of those to thank for the path that you helped set me down all these decades ago now. So here's to you. Congratulations on retirement. Congratulations on a job well done. And I hope I get to see you again soon. Thanks, Michael.
Congratulations on retiring, Michael. I wish you happiness and health in this new chapter of your life. You've earned it.
Hey Michael, I just wanted to say congratulations on your retirement. Even though I am, of course, against all change, I'm very excited for you to be able to sleep in on Sunday mornings or do whatever you want. That's incredible. I just wanted to thank you for being so awesome and always letting me sit in the back row to sing and never making me sing a solo and understanding who I am as a human being and a choral member. I also want to thank you for playing Christ Our Passover so incredibly well, and I will miss that in particular. Love you. Congratulations.
Hi Michael, congratulations on your retirement. I really loved getting to sing and be in choristers and getting to play my clarinet in church with you. Making music with you is one of my favorite things growing up. I hope you really, really enjoy your retirement.
Hi, Michael. Congratulations on your well-earned retirement. They don't call it the Protestant work ethic for nothing. If I remember correctly, over 20 years ago now, I believe you wrote a letter of recommendation for me for college. So I basically owe my college degree and every job I have ever had to you. So thanks. Seriously, it was an honor to sing under your leadership and to worship in a place imbued with your spirit and wisdom. Congratulations and thank you.
Hi Michael and everybody, congratulations on your retirement. My story is, I just loved all of my time with Michael Corzine. My favorite story that I can recall at this moment was when we were about to start church Sunday morning. Big day, big anthem, big prelude, all sorts of everything. And it's very quiet and solemn right before the prelude starts. Michael goes to reach up his folder of all of his music and then it falls all over the ground. And without even thinking, he goes, "Ah, my brains!" And that's a perfect example of why I love Michael so much. Anyway, happy retirement. Love you. Bye.
Hi, Michael. I'm very happy to be joining my voice to the chorus that is congratulating you for your time at First Pres. My studies in Tallahassee were made all the richer by singing with the First Pres choir, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for your musicianship, your ministry, your knowledge, but most of all your kindness that you always shared so generously with all of us. I wish you all the very best for the next chapter, and I'm sending lots of love from France.
Hey Michael, congratulations on retirement. Woo woo, let's go. I really appreciate all the time that we got to spend together while I was in choristers at First Pres and at St. John's. Being able to express myself through music at the church was really important to me when growing up, and you played a key role in that. And I really, really appreciate all of the ways that you helped me grow and supported me while I grew up and grew into myself. I also really, really appreciate you playing "Do You Hear the People Sing" at my dad's funeral. That really means a lot to me. And I'm going to miss having you in church as the organist, but I know that you're going to kiki so hard in retirement, and it's going to be great. Love ya.
The next reflections will come from Mary and Walter Moore. Like our previous speakers, the Moores had meaningful and impressive careers. Marion helped to open the first classrooms in Leon County for deaf students, and Walter was a professor of religion at FSU. Currently, they are active volunteers and social justice warriors. They are also longtime members of First Presbyterian, and their reflections tonight will come from that perspective. Walter was on the organ committee. Both of the Moores sang in the choir for years. In short, they know and love Michael well.
That's a hard act to follow. Well, welcome to all of you former choir folks, as Walter and I are, and to all of you new choir people. But I want to have a little different perspective than just from the choir tonight. I'm going to talk about the 3 M's of Michael. That's Michael, music, and mind treat. For you who don't know, you Episcopalians and others in the crowd, mind treat is the Presbyterian Conference Center in North Carolina. Mind treat, North Carolina. Walter and I are honored to talk tonight just to share with you some of our special memories of this amazing man. For my remarks, I want to focus on our time at Mind Treat Conference Center. Some of you here may remember way back in the 90s and the 2000s when a group of 15 or so choir people, can you believe we had that many who would gather together at Mind Treat for several summers. We would rent a house together, share cooking responsibilities, clean-up responsibilities, and most of all, just build a great community for that week together. Following each day of that week, full of worship, of classes, and of choir rehearsals, of course, we would return to our home, most of the time, my favorite place, the Alexander House. And we would gather on the front porch around Michael and his gin and tonic. And we would remember or recollect things that went on during that day. One of my fondest memories of those years took place, I think, in 2000, according to Andrew, when John Ferguson, who you just saw, John Ferguson from St. Olaf, who was I think he was the service organist for that week, and Anton Armstrong, also an Ole, who was the choir director, the adult choir director for that week, came to dinner one night at our invitation. So we were sitting on the front porch, recalling again some of this little ditty that Anton would have us sing as we warmed up for choir rehearsal. And then Michael, in his expert skill at composing music, he rewrote the words to that little ditty. I hope you remember, Michael. Well, Walter and I tonight are going to encourage you who were here that summer to sing along with us. We'll first sing that little ditty by Anton, and then we will sing Michael's song adaptation. I must say that his arrangement was made because one of the twosome had to be gluten-free, as Ann Hinks and others are. So that will make sense about mine. But this is the first one which we had to sing with Anton every day.
Many mumbling minds are making midnight music in the moonlight. Mighty nights.
This is Michael's. Welcome, John and Anton. We hope there are no croutons in the croutons. This is one of Michael's unpublished works. I must say thank you, Michael, for sharing your musical gifts with us, both glorious and lighthearted, over the past half-century. Walter and I have known you all the time we've been here, so you can tell we're much older than Michael, but we wouldn't be that long. May God continue to bless you in your retirement with more time for family, for friends, for travel, for your hobbies, and perhaps for writing some silly song lyrics for your grandchildren.
Like many of you here, I have a treasury of stories about life in the choir with Michael. I treasure memories of Michael and the choir at Montreat, memories of being in the choir even before Michael got here, something shared with only a few of you here. Memories of singing in the choir at Michael and Betsy's wedding. Rich memories of serving on the organ committee that recommended the Taylor and Moody organ. In these past 49 years, no one has shaped my religious life more than Michael, with the possible exception of Marion. In addition to these reminiscences about Michael and the choir, there's another unexpected part of Michael's ministry that has had a large influence on my life, and I suspect on his life as well. From 2015 until the arrival of COVID-19 in 2020, Michael volunteered at Wakulla Correctional Institution, along with Debbie Gibson, Deb Keoghty, Walter, and a few others. Once every week, Michael made the trip to Wakulla County. He was part of a life skills course that dealt with such topics as anger management, restorative justice, parenting at a distance, and more. The course is run by by inmates themselves. Debbie and Deb probably have their stories about Michael at the prison. I invite you to ask them to tell you. Some of you may have heard Debbie tell a story about the time Michael admitted in the class that he has been known to have road rage. Several of the prisoners were deeply and honestly impressed with quiet Michael, living on the outside, would admit that he too was infected by anger. What I remember about Michael at the prison, I remember the rapport that Michael was able to establish with the men in the class. That rapport was obvious in the earnest one-on-one conversations Michael was involved in. I remember a time recently when a group of the inmates were having their graduation exercises from the course, something that they took very seriously. On this occasion, a keyboard was available, and Michael had written words to the song Jacob's Ladder, words that were appropriate for the setting, this particular occasion. As I say, the graduation exercises were really significant to the men in the class, and they were impressed that Michael had written something for them. But what they were even more impressed by was the fact that Michael could play the keyboard. It came as a revelation to them that Michael was a musician. They knew Michael as an attentive listener, as a serious conversation partner, but he could also play the keyboard. Who knew? So here is to Michael, full of surprises.
Corzine, Michael's son, will now speak on behalf of our family.
Hello, everyone. You may know me. I'm Chris Corzine. I am Michael's son. It is wonderful to be here at this celebration tonight, but I must admit, I missed the first several years of my dad's tenure as organist. I had very little interest in those first 4 or 5 years, but I had a pretty good excuse. I hadn't been born yet. I'd like to speak briefly tonight, not just about Michael Corzine, the organist of First Presbyterian Church for the last 49 years, but about Michael Corzine, the father. I am so happy tonight that my sisters, Lindsay and Aaron, and my brother Andrew, and our honorary sister Marissa, were able to make the trip to be here for this celebration. I think I can speak for all of the Corzine children when I say, Dad, we are so proud of all you have accomplished through your music ministry at First Presbyterian over the last nearly 5 decades. We love you, and we are so grateful for you. Much has already been said tonight about your extraordinary musicianship, interpretation of the gospel, and deep understanding of the liturgy and its nuance. We've heard about your kindness and quiet, contemplative, caring, and selfless nature, and it's all true, and you brought all those characteristics into your role as father. I grew up in the church, joining you there for 44 of the last 49 years. I've been there through preschool, Sunday school, youth group, the carol choir with Miss A, the chapel choir, as we used to call the Choristers program. And once I was in high school, I joined the adult choir as a bass. And I've been a member ever since. And I really appreciate you turning a blind eye for a decade or so where my attendance at Wednesday night rehearsals was a little bit hit or miss. As I grew up in the church, so did my understanding of what it was you did as organist and choir director. And you shared this with all of your children in ways that were never pushy, but quiet and subtle. Each of us has a relationship to music and God that was shaped by you. By the time the Taylor and Moody organ arrived in countless pieces in the back of a gigantic U-Haul truck in 1992, I was hooked and completely fascinated by organs and organ music. I still look back at the multiple-month process of the assembly and installation of the organ with amazing memories. I was a sophomore in high school at the time, and I remember you and I, we would stop early at church a couple weeks after they had delivered the organ. It was still dark outside, and we flipped on the lights, and the whole organ case, since the day before, had gone up. There were no pipes yet, but it was amazing. We were both giddy with excitement and couldn't wait to see what each day's progress would bring. John Meyer and I spent many afternoons after school at the church, helping Chris Bono and the other organ builders assemble various components of the organ. The builders were patient and excited in our interests while also allowing us to help in a hands-on way. This knowledge of the inner workings of the organ would later pay off. And in the years since, it has been common when walking into the church on a Sunday morning while you are practicing, for you to look over when you see me and smile and say, Christopher, do you want to check something that's going on with the organ? That low D is buzzing. The bellows are squeaking. And off we'd go to take a look. One particular time, a few years back, I believe it was right before an Easter Vigil service, you were hearing a little squeak in the organ bellows, and you asked me if I could take a look. I'm guessing it must have mainly been because of my petite stature and my complete lack of clumsiness. that you asked me to help with this, because in this instance, the solution to fixing the squeak involved crawling into the organ bellows chamber using an iPhone as a flashlight through an opening about the size of a doggy door. But sure enough, I was able to wriggle in there, find a spot, oil the fulcrum pin, and the squeak was gone. It wasn't until later in that service, and since it was an Easter Vigil service, I think, I like to recall that it occurred somewhere right before the Great Alleluia, that we heard the strangely distant ringing of an iPhone. It seemed to be both very nearby, but also very, very far away. Almost like it was deep inside the organ. Well, sure enough, I had left your iPhone beaming its flashlight deep inside the organ. Dad, you have always approached worship and your role in worship with the utmost respect and responsibility. But at the same time, you have never made this work about you or your talent. And you've never taken yourself too seriously. You've always been able to laugh at yourself or laugh with the choir as we rehearse. An iPhone in the organ isn't the only thing hidden in the organ that you may not know about. But there is a nameplate inside one of the panels of the organ where each of the craftsmen signed a plaque alongside the number of the organ, Opus 20, and the year it was built. There is also a simple Latin phrase listed. It's a phrase which J.S. Bach himself wrote at the end of most of his manuscripts to indicate for whom his music was written. This same phrase, Soli Deo Gloria, which translates loosely to glory to God alone, is an especially fitting synopsis of how you approached your years of ministry at First Presbyterian Church. Congratulations on your retirement. Thanks for all you've done. We love you.
Builders of the magnificent organ at First Presbyterian have also submitted a greeting for Michael. They state on their website that each project undertaken by Taylor and Moody is a unique creation requiring thousands of hours of design, study, and manufacturing. And the organ building project at First Presbyterian was no exception to that statement. Planning began in 1984. The organ arrived in 1992, and the last stop was added in 2010. And over those 26 years, Michael consulted with George and John whenever an additional part or repairs were needed.
It's George Taylor and John Booty, if you don't remember us. We just want to thank you for all you did for us and what a great thing it was to build an organ in Tallahassee. And we wish you well on your retirement. And it's amazing that you're finally retiring.
We finally managed to retire this year. And it hasn't been all bad. The pandemic taught us how to do that. When we had to be away from the shop, and we're just calling to wish you a happy retirement. It's not the worst thing in the world. It has its great benefits, actually. I just want to thank you from my wife and me for something she reminded me that when you were here and played at Charlottesville, I don't recall whether you stayed with us or not, but anyway, you told us that after you played your church services, you went home and had a gin and tonic. And Carol caught on to that very quickly. And so we still have our Tanqueray, and we thank you for it. I also remember when your daughter, Erin, spilled the hide glue in the pulpit. and that had to be cleaned up, and that makes us very happy that it was able to be. It didn't permanently damage the church, but building your organ was a wonderful experience, and having you there all these years, who knows the organ best, has been a blessing for us, really, because there's nothing like having a permanent organist position with an instrument. So thank you for choosing us.
Thank you,
and all the best.
Bombay Sapphire Gin, not Tanqueray. We've leveled up. So it's been a really fun party, a wild success. All right, I can talk loud. All right, we'll try it. So I just want to recognize the planning committee and their many hours of work and thoughtfulness. They've already been named, but I think they deserve to be named again. Emily Bruno, Barbara Boucharis, Eleanor Cleveland, Margaret Fox, Debbie Gibson, Miriam Gurniak, Marion Moore, Walter Moore, Douglas Seaton, and Christy Williams. And we've all been admiring and appreciating the creative and elegant decorations. Those were engineered by Bo Elfie, Janet Fixel, Emma Lowry, and Carol Wynn. The planning committee would also like to thank the staff at St. John's, including Fran Doxey, who helped prepare this delicious meal. And Lindsay Hardy, both of whom collaborated with the planning committee about all of the details, and they are always so generous about sharing this space and their friendship with First Presbyterian. We also want to recognize those who participated in the hymn festival by having those people stand. So if you sang at the hymn festival, please take a moment to stand. Thank you all for kicking off a wonderful evening. We will be singing together during the next part of the program, so we'll get to hear all of your strong voices again. And if you sing along, and we hope everyone will sing along, the planning committee requests that you please wear a mask while singing. And now Barbara Boucharis and Marissa Hall will present gifts to continue expressing our gratitude for Michael's ministry.
Can you hear me? I'm being assisted by Emma Lowry, who many of you have seen tonight already as the keeper of the hymnal. Michael, we would like to present to you a tangible expression of our affection along with some intangible ones. And so we've been collecting signatures in a copy of Glory to God. We've been asking people to sign the page of a favorite hymn, which in our congregation led to great consternation and anguish as people sat and couldn't decide, what's my favorite hymn? It's this. No, wait, it's this. So we may need to take the book back to give some people a little bit of additional time to sign the book, but Emma's going to present it to you now. as a token of our love and thanks for your service. And on the inside cover, if you haven't seen it yet, it's a plate that says, roughly, to Michael Corzine, with love and appreciation for 49 years of sharing the word through song. I have another less tangible gift to present. On behalf of the planning committee, we were trying to decide how we could honor Michael's long tenure with this congregation, his musicianship, which we've heard about, his liturgical wealth of expertise, and most of all, his teaching, because to all of us, Michael has been a teacher. To the students that he's taught the organ, and we'll hear from one of them in a minute, but also just to those of us who have been lucky enough to sing with him. Michael is always teaching. And so we're very pleased to announce that we are creating a Michael Corzine Music Education Fund, which will be an endowed fund of the church and will be used to augment the church budget in ways that allow us to encourage and nurture students who want to pursue a calling as a church musician. Thank you, Michael, and we will now hear from Rosa Hall.
So the gift that I'm presenting is on the paper that you've received. Betsy suggested that one of the things that I might do for Michael, lover of hymns that he is to write a hymn in honor of him. And I was asked to speak briefly about it so that you might understand how it came to be. There are 3 stanzas, and each stanza reflects an aspect of Michael as a person. The first, which is how I came to know him, is as a mentor and my first organ teacher. I met Betsy first through joining the St. John's Choir, and when I felt the call to become a church musician, she told me the first thing I needed to do was to learn the pipe organ. So I asked her if she knew any organ teachers. And luckily she did. Many of us here, as we've said, often this evening have benefited from Michael's teaching, whether formally or informally. And reflecting on this spiritual gift, the gift of teaching, was what initially inspired me to write the hymn. The second stanza regards him as a quiet, compassionate listener. His ear, though musically gifted to hear overtones, perfect pitch, and even the stray B natural in the left hand of measure 43 of the piece, he was listening to from across the church. That ear also hears your worries, your grievances, your joys. And puzzles you can't figure out on your own, like crosswords and letter soup. Michael's a person who doesn't listen to respond, he listens to listen. And he does so with compassion and empathy, something which I have valued immensely over the years I've known him. The last stanza of the Trinity of Traits is his methodical, patient pace. Some might call this slow, and they wouldn't be wrong. I love that sometimes I can ask Michael a question and he will say, and then he'll talk about something else, and then in a few days he'll give me his answer, which has been marinating and developing since we last talked. In a world of fast-paced, instant communication, the gift of taking one's time is especially sacred. We are called by God's example to rest and be still, and when we neglect this, we can often end up being blind to the holiness around us. Finally, there is intentional parallelism in each stanza. Though we sing at the beginnings, the God for our blank in the middle, and the may, the call at the end. These steady repetitions are meant to reflect Michael's constancy and his unwavering dedication as a lifelong church musician. Michael, I hope this hymn is a small reminder of how much you mean to all of us, and how much your work in sacred music has inspired me and will for the rest of my life. Thank you.
who will also introduce the closing hymn, is Grant Copeland. Grant and Michael are each other's longest colleagues. When Michael spoke at Grant's retirement, he described Grant's first sermon as the essence of humility and all about the liturgy and not about him. And we've heard the presenters tonight use almost those exact words to describe you and your music ministry, Michael. So it's no wonder that the two of you had such a joyful and harmonious relationship, a relationship that Michael said can only be attributed to the grace of God.
What Rich didn't tell you is I found that blinking cell phone in the organ. It was about 1:30 in the morning on the dawn of Easter, and I crawled into the guts of the organ and performed a plank and retrieved the cell phone. Early in the fall of 1985, the pastor nominating committee flew me down from Virginia to talk turkey and have a look around. Nowadays, that kind of thing is done by Zoom, I understand. Leo Sandin picked me up at the airport, dropped me off at what was then the Hilton Hotel. My room overlooked the corner of Park Avenue and Adams Street. I remember looking down on that venerable sanctuary and wondering who I would find inside the next day. Douglas Seaton, or maybe it was Leo, was showing me around when we came upon a tall, handsome fellow with a dark beard and full head of hair. He was at the east end of the sanctuary tinkering with what appeared to be a parlor organ that had lost its way and been taken in as a stray. That turned out to be the Jingle Bells organ, and the handsome young man turned out to be Dr. Michael Corzine, child prodigy, professor of organ at FSU, and the organist choir master at FPC. In the unlikely event that I should be called to be pastor of First Pres, this guy would be my partner in ministry. Well, I was called, proof that the Holy Spirit has a sense of humor. And it turned out that the Spirit is also an excellent matchmaker. Think Calvin and Bourgeois. Think Taylor and Booty. Think Laurel and Hardy. Think Corzine and Copeland. In Michael Corzine, I could not have had a more compatible work spouse, a wiser teacher, or a dearer friend. Michael's title is organist choir master, but neither half of that conflated title does his calling justice. The scholar of church music, Paul Westermeyer, prefers the name cantor to describe what Michael has been doing for the past 49 years. The cantor is the primary leader of congregational song. According to Westermeyer, the cantor has 5 tasks, each of them musically intrinsic. First, the cantor leads the people's praise. Our chief end, after all, is to glorify God and enjoy God forever. As Chris said, Soli Deo Gloria. Second, the cantor leads the people's prayer. Prayer is more than words. Prayer goes beyond words. Prayer is the mighty blast from the 8-foot trumpet stop, the deep rumble of the sub-bass, the tinkling laughter of the cymbal stern. Prayer is sighs too deep for words. Prayer is sacred silence. And no one has a better ear for all these forms of prayer than Brother Michael. Third, the cantor tells and retells the story. Michael is more than a superb musician. He is a liturgical theologian. He gives voice to the saints who from their labors rest, while also teaching the assembly to sing a new song unto the Lord. Michael teaches the assembly not merely to observe the liturgy, but to enact it. He draws us into the old story that is ever new. For, says Westermeyer, the cantor proclaims the word. Some of my clerical colleagues would take issue with that statement, and it's true that ministers of word and sacrament often resent the power that music has communicate without words. Michael, however, pays meticulous attention to the text, whether it be the scriptural text appointed for the day, or the words of hymns, psalms, and spiritual songs. When Michael plays a hymn, he presides at the wedding of text and music. There was many a Sunday through the years when I felt the sermon fell short of the mark, didn't quite proclaim the good news latent in the text, or speak to the congregation's deep longing. But I always knew that at the other end of the room, there was another servant of the word who would take up the slack. And sometimes, if I quoted a hymn text in a mediocre sermon, he would redeem the day by improvising on the hymn tune while working his way from the key in which the anthem had been sung to the key of the presentation hymn. Few people can do that, and no one does it better. This, says Mr. Meyer, the cantor is a steward of God's gift of music. Michael clearly knows that he is a superb theologian. But the cantor employs his talents as God's deputy, says Westermeyer, and not for, and this is Westermeyer's words, not for ego gratification. Michael has the chops to call attention to himself, but he never does that. He prompts us instead to attend to the Holy One, the God triune, who is both transcendent and ever-present. There is a sixth aspect of Michael's ministry, one that Paul Westermeyer fails to mention. Michael is a musical pastor, highly skilled in what used to be called the cure of souls. Like David with his harp, he soothes the troubled spirit. Like Joshua with his ram's horns, he sends us forth into battle to fight the good fight. His music is balm, the balm we seek from Gilead, as refreshing as the living water Jesus offered the woman at the well. On more than one occasion, it was Michael's music that got me through a rough patch, and I know that I am not alone. Tonight we give thanks not only for Michael's music, but also for his pastoral care. In his 49 years of ministry in this congregation, Michael has brought us closer to that clear, though far off hymn that hails a new creation. His ministry will always find an echo in my soul and in the souls of all of us. Soli Deo Gloria. And now, as our final act of celebration, we sing. We sing, "My Life Flows On." And we stand.
just in case I was expected to come say something. I wrote out a bunch of comments, but I'm not going to use them. I simply want to say, first of all, thanks to all of you who planned and executed this evening. The service was magnificent, beautifully planned and wonderfully executed. This party has been tremendous. The outpouring of your love has been overwhelming. And I just want to say how grateful I am to have been with you for these 49 years. It has been a privilege, it has been a joy, and it has shaped my life immeasurably.